And then the 19 patients that remained with us had 16 operations. Today, we did 5 more operations on these patients, but luckily the patients are progressing. So earlier today, we had said there were 10 patients who were in critical condition. Some of those patients have improved throughout today and were able to be extubated, and 3 of them are now no longer in critical condition. So our patients who are currently still critical are 7. We now have 6 in serious condition and then 6 in fair condition. So patients are progressing, some faster than others, of course, and there are still many of these patients who still need operations. Both tomorrow, the next day, and Friday are planning to go back to the operating room with these patients.
Dr. Patrick, can you talk about any of the shrapnel-like material that was taken from patients and what the procedures you took to provide that to authorities?
So several patients, as you know, had fragments removed, and we do that separate from just this incident. We do that whenever there's a foreign body, such as a gunshot wound, something like that, and the evidence is handled the same each time, where as it's removed, it's sent to the pathologists who then record it, and then it gets sent on its way, so it has a chain of evidence. So that hasn't really changed. That's what we always do for this type of situation. We've been removing various things from people in the sense of it's not necessarily various random things that
medical center press conference, and we just learned from the doctor that 10 of the patients yesterday were in critical condition. Now the number
we have not
is 7.
Seen nails.
And we're joined now back with Boston Medical Center.
Ball bearings.
It's just little particles of metal.
Particles of metal and plastic. Right. That's what we're seeing in our patients.
Of the patients who are able to speak, who are well enough to, what kind of stories are they telling you?
Believe it or not, as the doctors, we often don't ask them the stories. We usually just focus on the surgery and the care.
Are they quite traumatized, though? How do they seem in themselves?
They seem remarkably calm, and most of them do have family and loved ones with them, which is nice. So they seem to be handling this very well, given the circumstances. And usually it's our social workers or the other people who work with us that sort of talk to them more about what happened, and we sort of focus on the surgery and the care.
Can you tell us how many that you have with you that have lost limbs, or what it is?
So the number hasn't changed, and I believe it was 5 total. But I don't know the count of how many it was 1 versus 2.
And do you know how many of them were runners or how many of them were spectators?
I think not all. We did have 1 runner, possibly. It was, but not one of the critical people. All the critical people are spectators.
Of the 5 surgeries performed today, can you describe what they were?
So this was all planned operations. So the person who needed, the person who had their abdomen operated on needed to go back to the operating room, and that happened today. And then a couple people who needed their wounds, what we call, washed out, irrigated, debrided, they went today as well. So it was all planned operations.
And then what's the outlook for tomorrow? Do you think you're going to be discharging some of these people? Or are they going to
possibly. But we're obviously taking our time with them. And a lot of these wounds, we are concerned about infection, given the nature of what happened. So it's nice to sort of keep an eye on them to make sure that they don't have an infection. But we have planned operations again for tomorrow. For maybe 9 of the patients are going to be going back again tomorrow. And then the next day, several patients again going back. So.
And then you also have a 5-year-old child?
Yes.
And what's this child?
Still critical condition. Mm-hmm. Improving.
The child's injuries, or?
I would rather not go into the detail, but
okay.
Yeah, traumatic injury from this, and he's still in critical condition.
Are the particles of metal, I know it's really hard to tell what they are, or is there any theory about whether they were packed into the bomb or they were the casing of the bomb?
I couldn't really comment on that. Just yeah, I couldn't really comment on that. Nothing obvious that showed it was from the bomb per se.
This morning you guys said BB type.
Dr. Ulrich from the ED had commented on that. I personally haven't seen BBs, but I mean, he might have. And obviously the wounds, once we remove the leg, you know, the wounds are gone and sent off to the pathologist. So, yeah.
Any other questions? This is your name, Tracy?
Yes.
Doctor, it's Tracy?
Yep.
Dr. Tracy.
Doctor, was the 5-year-old one of the surgeries today?
No.
Did you say that you're going to have 9 more surgeries tomorrow, you think?
It's several. It might be 8 or 9 that we have planned so far. So.
You're listening to Dr. Tracy Deckert. She's a trauma surgeon at Boston Medical Center, telling reporters about the patients at the medical center. They have been, several of them have been upgraded. 10 of them were in critical condition yesterday. Now it is 7 of them in critical condition. That means patients are improving, obviously. She talked about the metal and plastic serving as shrapnel. Some very gruesome images when you think about it. I'm joined now by somebody who knows from gruesome images, Boston Globe photographer John Tumaki. John, you've been a photographer for more than 30 years. You were at the finish line. You took several of the pictures that we have seen that have haunted us. One of them we just learned is going to be the cover of Sports Illustrated, which I guess in a normal situation would be something you'd be excited about, but it must be something of a mixed emotion today.
I can see them using it. I mean, it shows the horror of the situation. You know, here's a runner who was blown over by the explosion, and 3 Boston police officers almost in shock, realizing something bad has happened. One female police officer has her gun out. I mean, if that's the cover of Sports Illustrated and that's what the marathon has come to, that's, you know, a sad day.
It is a sad statement. How does somebody, you know, a lot of people think about photographers as just there, passionless, taking photographs, but I know, obviously, it does take a mental toll and an emotional toll. How have you been dealing with seeing these horrifying images right in front of you, recording them, obviously, but then going back to the Boston Globe, handing them in? Are you doing okay? I'm
doing okay. I mean, I guess it really hit me this morning when I get the Globe delivered at home, and there on the front page is my picture. And then, you know, it makes me think that I'm doing my job. I don't want to get in people's way, but I think the world needs to see what, you know, tragedy has happened. I mean, I'm there. I can't go backwards. I have to go forward. I have to go into the scene of the explosion, and I'm sensitive. I'm emotional about it, but you know, my #1 job is to be the eyes of the reader.
And lastly, we know from too many of these incidents or too many scenes of carnage, whether 9/11 or the Fort Hood shootings or what's going on in Afghanistan, that there are photographs that the public is not shown. How do you decide when you're handing in pictures which ones you're not even going to let your editors see?
Very difficult, you know, an incredible question. I went through them yesterday. I came back. I was shaking when I was looking through them, and it brought back everything. It was, you know, very difficult to edit through them. There was pictures I had of limbs blown off and people in agony, and I don't want to ever look at those again. I don't want people to see those. I try to be as discreet as possible. You know, we try to get around showing the blood and things like that, but in this case, you just have to see what I saw, what everybody else saw.
All right. Thank you for your work. I appreciate it, John. The sadness here in Boston, it's palpable, but there's also been an amazing amount of courage and community in the face of terrorism. Here's a look at what I saw on the streets of Boston after the attack. This is Boston, the day after. Marathoners are still here, easy to spot in their yellow and blue. Instead of celebrating their victories, they seem unsure of what to do next.
You know, this is the stuff that happens in Bosnia or Syria, but not the United States.
It is a city on edge. This is downtown Boston, the heart of the city. That's Copley Square behind me, and it's always jarring to see a place like this turned into not only a crime scene, but what looks to be, in some cases, a war zone. Some of the people we spoke to were trying to pick up where yesterday so violently ended. This woman picked up a medal for her friend who was injured in the blast and is still in the hospital.
He's okay, but they're just keeping him for observation, and I'm going to go there and give him his medal today.
On one street, cups that once contained water for runners. left here, an ephemeral memorial to the panic once felt here. Some of the witnesses here with their children.
What do you tell your kids?
We talked about it and made sure that they understand that we are safe and that there are lots of helpers making the city safe for us. So bad things like this happen, but there's many, many other people out there who are making it right.
On another street, medals and the possessions of those who didn't finish the race.
What is today like for you?
It's eerie. It's not like a normal Tuesday after the marathon. We get up, put things away, and drive home. Instead, we're doing this.
Perhaps the most emotional place in Boston today is this corner of Boylston Street. Wreaths hang from lampposts. Flowers have begun to pile up. Part memorial, part crime scene.
It's very disturbing to, see all this debris on the side and know that, right up there, I could have been running down this way and been part of it. I'm very grateful I wasn't.
Our day in Boston, runner Leo Verde was just about 600 yards from the finish line when the bombs went off. The last few steps he took, he'll never forget for the rest of his life, directly through the smoke and carnage and hustling first responders into his fiance's arm. Leo and his fiancée, Laurie Stoma, are here with us. Leo, I'll let you go first. Tell us your experience, what you saw.
Well, it's like, it's a combination of, exuberance. I was about to finish, one of the biggest dreams of my life,
This is your first marathon?
Well, actually, this is like my fourth one, but this one was very important to me because I raised so much money for the local chapter of Baton Rouge of cystic fibrosis, almost $33,000.
Wow.
So I was running for a lot of people back home, you turn on Boston Street and you see the crowds just screaming for you, and, all of a sudden, the first bomb went off, and I thought it was like a cannon, like a celebratory cannon. And,
right.
And then all of a sudden the second one, it was like about 100 yards away, and then that one I knew was something wrong because then I saw fire, so things flying up in the air. And I stopped, I was like, I was looking to finish under 4 hours, and I knew I had like 4 or 5 minutes left, and I just stopped, and then I saw people running towards me. I went through the first bomb, then I don't even know if I should ever go straight, keep walking, the things that I saw at the first bomb was just horrible, horrible.
So the victims you saw?
Yeah, because I had to make it. I had to go right through it to get to her because I knew she was standing in the grandstand. She was right there. She had gotten a VIP pass from John Hancock, who's the people who sponsored me. So I knew where she was. She knew where I was because she was tracking me. I finished the race at, I think it was 2 hours and
2:54.
2:54, and the bombs went off at 2:50.
And where were you? You were in the stands?
I was actually on the ground in front of the grandstands. At that point, I was behind the finish line. It was our first marathon not running together, so I wanted to take a picture of them, and they allowed me to come down to take a picture with my pass, and I was waiting, and all of a sudden the first bomb went off, and I was confused and realized what it was. I didn't realize what it was at first, and then the second one went off, and we knew what it was, and we just saw things flying, and a couple, I remember a couple that tried to pull me back, and they said it's going to be okay, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was still confused, but I knew he was out there, and I knew by the time that had just tracked that he was, seconds away. He should be coming through at any time, and I know they were trying to help me, but I just fought my way away from them, and I just fell to my knees and screamed his name, and got back up, and I just proceeded to the finish line again to go find him, and there he was coming in. So
tell me about the moment when you found him.
I held him tight, and we hugged and kissed. It seemed like for eternity. And, very happy to see him again, and very blessed.
Tell me about the moment that you saw her and knew she was okay.
It's like, all I wanted to do is like get to her. You don't know how to react. I guess after running 26 miles, your adrenaline's still just going at it, it's going strong, and it just kicked up even more. I remember like making that turn, my legs were killing me, my calf was hurting, and I don't remember feeling anything, and that's the eerie's feeling. I don't remember people like screaming or crying, I saw people without limbs, and there was no sounds, and when I got to her, we hugged, and I remember, I just told someone else with seeing in Spanish that somebody interviewed us right when we finished.
Right after it happened.
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember.
We were in shock still.
We're glad you guys are okay.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Coming up, he was steps away from the terrorist attacks at the Munich Olympics in 1972, and he had just been right near the finish line here in Boston as the bombs exploded. I'll talk to gold medal marathoner Frank Shorter next.